Well, the University of Texas Medical Branch in Galveston is getting a rare $2 million grant to study gun violence in the Houston area. Joining us this morning is Dr. Jeff Temple, director of the Center for Violence Prevention at UTMB Galveston. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Sophia. Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, so let's talk about this grant, Doctor. Let's talk about its purpose and what can you tell us about it?
Yeah, thank you so much. It's a grant from the Centers for Disease Control, and basically where we are with our understanding of firearms and firearm violence is at its infancy. There's been a drought on our ability to study firearms. And so basically we're like where we were with cigarettes and lung cancer 50, 60 years ago. We know pretty much very little. So this study, this funding will allow us to understand why people carry guns, why they own guns, how they access it, how they store it, where they store it, and just general attitudes about firearms with the intent of reducing firearm injuries and death.
That is huge, Doctor, for especially the Houston area. Would you say that this is a very important piece of research for us and the communities here in the Houston area?
Absolutely. Gun violence is a problem everywhere in the United States, but especially in Texas. And we tend to think about things like mass shootings and school shootings. Understandably so, they're very scary. But the everyday gun violence, gang violence, violence associated with domestic violence, those are what happen most frequently. And Texas is not immune to that. We have quite a bit of violence against women involving firearms, gang violence involving firearms. So any information that we can gather that will help us prevent or reduce firearm injuries and death is a win for Texas and the United States.
Dr. Temple, why would you say is funding research on gun violence so difficult?
The actual research of it is not that difficult. The problem is that we need money to do the research. And in 1996, there was a Dickey Amendment, which was attached to every spending bill, which pretty much disallowed any research on firearm violence and funding of firearm violence. So the CDC and the NIH, who funds most of our research, stopped funding firearm violence research. So for about 2 decades, 3 decades, we knew little about firearms. And after Sandy Hook and more recently in 2020, Congress did away with the Dickey Amendment, or softened the language of the Dickey Amendment, which now allows us to study firearms and, more importantly, gives us money to study firearms, which was part of this grant from the Centers for Disease Control.
Would you say what was the most concerning thing that you saw when it comes to violence since the pandemic, since COVID?
Well, I'm a domestic violence researcher, and so I'm always going to answer that way. But it is true. I mean, since the pandemic, we have seen an increase in domestic violence, violence against women, an increase in the severity of the violence, and femicide, which is the killing of women. And we see that with any disaster, any emergency, when our protective and social networks are disrupted. We almost always see women get the brunt of it, and they are the ones that are most likely to be victims. And so that's really what I'm most concerned about. We see it right now in Hawaii with the fires. Domestic violence there is increasing. It just follows emergencies and natural disasters, so I really think that's where a lot of our resources need to go.
Hopefully we will learn a lot with this new piece of research. Dr. Jeff Temple with UTMB Galveston, thank you so much for joining us this morning.